From the Logos Radio Network. We're coming to you live from the real heart of the resistance, the most dangerous studio on the planet. At Defense Distributed, home of the Ghost Gunner and the Crypto D&D Studio, where we're printing and milling out freedom, undermining the banks and the man, but having some fun while we do it.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain, yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice, their genes have been spliced. They're Pinky and the Brain, 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 brain.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Crypto Show. We just completed earlier an interview with Rick Falkvinga of Swarmwise, the founder of the Pirate Party. Many of you know him already, and not just from his general reputation, but from a previous interview we did with him earlier this year. And Lynn Albrecht was also a part of that. And we were just discussing the future of freedom, or lack thereof, in this country, especially with respect to the ominous implications of her son's incarceration, or political imprisonment, which I think is a better way to put it. And it was a good discussion, so check that out. And we are coming to you from Anarchapulco in Acapulco, Mexico, on this lovely Tuesday, February 28th, 2017. And we are delighted to have a very special guest back to the show. It's not her first time, and but it's an honor to have her back, especially since she's about to speak in less than an hour, and she still needs time to get prepared, but she was gracious enough to give us some of her time. Amanda B. Johnson, the prettiest lady in crypto besides Danny, and the most eloquent woman in crypto besides me. Amanda B. Johnson, how are you? Welcome to the Crypto Show.
Thank you, Chris.
Was that a good intro?
It was excellent, and I'm a little nervous, but I'm so happy that y'all asked to pull me aside at this moment, because this is a nice distraction for me to not be entirely consumed by my nerves before my presentation.
Okay, well, let's just focus on this conversation. Forget that you're about to go up onto a big stage in front of a big crowd, and just relax.
Yeah.
Have a little pie.
Can I?
Actually,
Thanks.
You can if you really want.
Okay.
Go for it. Well, of course, Amanda B. Johnson, many of you know her. She's from Dash Detailed, a big spokesperson for Dash. And as you all know, we are partners with Dash and have been ourselves for several months. And we're happy to do so because we believe in Dash as one of the other great cryptocurrencies out there. And Amanda, you just told me something that I wasn't even aware of just a minute ago. Some new sort of groundbreaking news about Dash. What was that?
Sure. So 2.5 weeks ago, we pushed our largest update in a year and a half. And it was, I mean, if it's what can be called a hard fork, right? Which is to say it changes the blockchain rules. And so the infrastructure must update in order for those rules to take effect. And this is something that is perhaps naturally seen as pretty scary in the crypto space. And as of today, actually, as of a mere hour and a half ago, it completed. Our network is completely, fully operational once again. We have 4,000 masternodes all upgraded, and our miners, 100% of our hash power upgraded within 100 hours. They were on it. And so
has there been total chaos and disorder, or how are things with the Dash network?
No, things are good.
Wow.
I mean, it's made my job harder these past few weeks producing Dash Detailed, because I've had to seek so much comment from our network operators and monitors, like, will you please tell me what's going on with this, or tell me what's going on with this? Of course, in Dash, we have this interesting thing called sporks, which, is probably not a topic to talk about today. But long story short, part of the update that was pushed 2.5 weeks ago is a parallel piece of software with our core software. So the core is called Dash D. And now every masternode is also running what is called Sentinel. And Sentinel will be much easier to update than Dash D. First of all, it's written in Python. A lot more programmers out there know Python than C++. But also, updating Sentinel, at least at the current time, will not change blockchain rules. And so you won't have this scenario where you have to say, hey, all masternodes, please download this whole new wallet, re-download the whole blockchain, wait for it to sync, and then restart your remotely hosted masternode if you host remotely, et cetera, et cetera. But rather, it'll just be, no, please go to your wallet, open the command line, type update Sentinel, and there, we just upgraded.
So essentially just a click of a button is all that it'll take instead of all that extra hassle.
Yes,
which is
and
really nice.
we think it's really important because our competition, for example, centralized companies, centralized payment networks, they're able to update rather quickly, aren't they? They're able to push out software and done, now their users are ready to use it. And so we think we need to also be able to update with that level of dexterity and speed.
And we just spent 100 hours debating on the block size with everyone else here.
We did. I mean, quite a long time, actually. 2 long debates with respect to the Bitcoin's block size.
It certainly felt like 100 hours.
I know. And so did you say this was a hard fork, by the way?
It was, yeah. About 400-ish masternodes did not update. And so as of today, we are no longer cooperating with them. So yesterday there were 4,400 or 4,500 masternodes, right? The vast majority of them were on the newest version, 12.1, but 400 or 500 were on 12.0, had not yet updated.
So it's a 90% fork. I mean, 90% of the network joined, basically.
Yes.
And so
yes.
what will happen with those others? Are they just delayed in joining, perhaps, or what?
I think they'll probably come around. I've looked at the masternode chart of Dash's lifetime, and it seems like every time they update, there is a period of, a few hundred nodes drop off when what's called the enforcement spork is turned on. That's the one that says, okay, all you people who didn't update, you're now off the network. And it seems like every time Dash has ever pushed an update, there is a period where we kick off the people who didn't update, and then shortly thereafter, either they come back round or just new players in Dash come back round, and then the masternode count just continues to grow. Okay,
so they're likely just stragglers. I mean, to your knowledge, is there any indication that they've done so out of any sort of protest about any changes or anything like that?
Zero indication that I've seen.
Okay. Well, that's pretty impressive because, a lot of times when there's a hard fork, there can be when there's a hard fork, it's a serious issue that is contentious and leads to a split in the currency itself, or at least in the community. But in reality, this is probably just a typical thing that happens with most projects. There's stragglers who take time to get back on board. So
I would guess these are just the masternodes who don't watch Dash Detailed every week.
Right, as they should. And, speaking of which, there's a couple things.
Or don't have Node 40 managing it for them.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
We had, what was his name on?
Perry Wooden.
Yeah, Perry Wooden. He was a pretty good guest. Well, and speaking of which, I still want to get to a couple things with you, but tell us about Dash Detailed. How long have you been doing that, and when does it come on? Where can people find it? And, what are some of the topics that you cover?
Sure. It's a weekly show to keep you in the know about Dash, digital cash.
Nice.
We publish every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and we've been doing so for 7 or 8 months now. And recently, we submitted our renewal proposal with a new show for Fridays. So not once a week, Dash Detailed, but twice a week.
Twice a week.
Dash Detailed. And it will be called Dash Detailed Spotlight. And much as I know everyone wants to hear me babble on and on all of the time, there are many faces behind Dash who I believe our investors will want to see and will want to hear from.
Yeah.
And so it will be an interview show with various important actors within Dash.
Amanda B twice a week. That'll be nice to see.
Oh my God.
See, I can rhyme too, just not as well. That's really awesome. And so, sorry, when does that proposal get finalized? Did you say?
So the end of this voting period is something like 5 or 6 days away. I currently have enough votes.
Excellent, congrats.
To be funded. Yeah, so as long as, many people don't decide within the next 5 days, forget about dash detailed, I'm voting no, then it's going to happen.
Excellent. Congratulations. A very unlikely scenario that they would suddenly vote no.
We actually just had to resubmit ours too, and we got voted in rather quickly.
I saw that.
Amazingly.
I saw that. Congrats.
I was surprised, actually.
I know.
I didn't even know until the last minute that we had to re-up that, but
Oh, you must not be watching Dash Detailed either.
Well, we love Dash Detailed. We've just been busy doing our own show, but we are going to pledge to watch more Dash Detailed. And now that it's going to be on twice a week, well, we have twice as much reason and opportunity to watch. So that's what I'm excited about. And, speaking of the ongoing success of aspects of Dash, with the success of the doubling of Dash Detailed, sort of the really official program of Dash, if you will. Our own success, continuing to be partners with Dash. Dash is really quite successful hard fork, which is always difficult for any cryptocurrency to pull off, even under the best of circumstances. You also told me another really cool bit of news about Dash, and something that's very positive and a sign of confidence in Dash, which is having to do with its market cap. What was that?
We just reached the number 3 spot this morning.
Oh, woo-woo!
Yeah.
And so, and that's pretty incredible. So we're behind Bitcoin and then Ethereum.
And then Dash.
And as you were saying, for the longest time, Dash was kind of hovering around, like, say, 7, maybe 8. I mean, it was, on the board, I guess, but still distantly. And all of a sudden, in the past, less than a year, it's shot up. The price is, I think, more than, I want to say more than tripled, almost quadrupled even. And what do you attribute this to? Because obviously this is a very promising sign, but why do you think the price has gone up so much? Why do you think there seems to be such confidence in Dash right now?
I think most investors at this time are uninterested in doing a whole lot of homework. See, the reason I first became interested in Dash was from doing just a whole lot of homework and seeing that Dash had these fundamentals, which in my view would be absolutely requisite to any sort of future success. And what's more, I saw that its competitors did not have these fundamentals. But a lot of people aren't interested in that, and what catches their interest is just price spikes, market cap moves. And so perhaps someone or many someones, something like 3 weeks ago, decided to buy Dash when it was not being hyped and popular, back when it was still number 7, and that caused enough of a price movement that I suppose that caught the attention of the people who are only interested in that sort of thing, and that's perhaps created a sort of snowball effect. And so, as to whether we will hold the number 3 spot for the time being, I don't know. I don't know the type of people who've been buying Dash recently. I don't know if they're in it for the long game, or if they just wanted to take a quick little ride with us and then, want to dump us next week. I don't know. What I do know, however, is that we have a continually growing Masternode count. And if you know anything about a Masternode, you know that they have locked in 1,000 Dash. And one thing I know about our Masternodes is that the majority of them are not flippers. They're not selling based on little market movements. They're buying and holding. And so we may have, some more up downs. We may go to, number 4 or 6. Who even knows in the short term, right? But in the long term, we are slowly accumulating more and more Masternodes, which is to say we're slowly accumulating more and more people who buy and hold.
And you're right. It is a bit of a speculative question concerning the market cap as to what is driving it and how long it'll hold. But the really more objective and solid piece of evidence, as you're saying, is the increase in the Masternode count. Because, like you said, because the Masternode count is quite an investment, and it's also an opportunity to take part in the governance structure, people aren't likely to just do it frivolously. I mean, it's intended to be a relatively long-term investment, so that alone is a good sign of confidence in Dash. But I would still say, given some of the issues that still persist with the block size debate in Bitcoin, and then the Ethereum hard fork and other issues in the crypto sphere, I can still see, again, speculatively, that there's probably at least some of that movement into Dash, looking for an alternative, looking for something that looks stable and positive, which Dash really kind of does. And I want you to get into that just briefly. We've had it explained on the show before, but still there's a lot of people new to Dash. Just run down, what are some of the key highlights of Dash that make it so appealing?
Sure. Well, I like that you used the word positive, because we do get that feedback a lot. People will say things like, your people seem so nice. The community seems so solid. I've had such a nice experience interacting on the Dash Slack or the Dash subreddit. And sometimes I think that the people saying this imagine that this is a coincidence, that it just so happened that all of these Dash investors are coincidentally also nice people. And that's not it at all. What is going on in Dash is proper incentives, top to bottom, which allow us to feel and operate like a business, not like a sort of flapping in the wind movement. And so when we all feel like we are employees of a business or investors in a business, then we have the proper incentives to treat newcomers well, and to help them out, and to point them to resources, and to give them all of the tech support they could ever want for free. And so when you combine the proper incentives that allow us to feel and operate like a business with the governance that gives us no reason to fight about things. If a debate comes up in Dash, it doesn't last long. Why? Because the hammer, the gavel of the Masternode vote is there. So we may argue about something for 24 hours. There may even be a few ad hominem attacks. But it doesn't last long, because at the end of the day, we know that whoever gets paid, the code they write is what was voted for.
Yeah.
Whoever doesn't get paid, whatever they were doing is what is not voted for. So there's no reason to argue about anything for very long.
Yeah, I know. I convinced a company to accept Dash recently, and that was the experience. It was super easy just to get a hold of the devs and say, hey, this business is ready to come on board. What are we going to do about it? All right, so the devs literally did all the work integrating the payment systems and everything into this. So I don't know if it's even out there yet, but it's about to come on board, and it's going to be kind of big.
You really make a good point there, Danny. And our developers are paid directly in Dash. How many other networks are the developers paid directly in the coin that they are working on? I know for a fact that it's not that many. I know for a fact that many developers of the world's current largest cryptocurrency are paid in paychecks of dollars or euros, wherever they're living at the time. How this doesn't strike anyone as an immense conflict of interest is baffling to me.
Well, and what I will say is, questions of conflict of interest on that end aside, what the Dash system does in two ways is it strengthens the alignment of the interests of everyone in the community towards promoting Dash. So when you get paid in Dash, you have an incentive, because now this is just technically true. There's a slight dilution of Dash by paying somebody in Dash from the system, right? There's no problem with that. I'm just saying that's technically true. There's an incentive for those people to, one, keep the Dash in the expectation that it'll grow in value, which also helps the system by that saving, right? And if you're developing Dash, you got a proposal, you got money from it, it's further incentive to promote the system as best you can, because you have that stake in it. And again, that also goes with the master nodes. Yes, the master nodes, there's a little bit of an upfront cost, obviously, to get one, but at the same time, while that may seem as a drawback to people who can't for the time being afford that, what it really does mean is that the people who are voting and getting master nodes have a large stake in the outcome. And when you tend to have a large stake in the outcome, when you have a lot of money on the line, you tend to have a lot of your passion and your focus and your attention on making sure that that venture succeeds. And that's a very good thing. And I think that's a very, again, positive aspect of the governance structure.
It's really all you can do. There is no way to compel human action. The best you can do is to create a system in which there is I think I've heard it called the apple out front and the bear behind. The best way to get good, wise behavior is for there to be a reward for being good and wise, and a financial punishment for being foolish or greedy.
Mm. Yeah, and that's how generally capitalism and markets work, is profit and loss, however that's specifically formulated in any given circumstance, is really the best way to get people to have proper incentives and to grow their behavior over time in the way that's best for them and best for the community at large. Absolutely. Well, and I don't want to keep you too long. Where it's 3:30, but I do want to know a little bit more about the evolution rollout, if you can, because that's pretty exciting. And you told me off air, I keep forgetting that's even sooner than expected. I keep thinking, because we have guests on the show, developers for various projects, and it'll be like, oh, it's like a year from now. And you know, there's no doubt that it's a compelling, exciting project, and that the developers we're talking to are competent, and that they're going to get it done. It's going to be great. But the rollout is supposed to be this summer. I mean, it's almost here.
Yeah.
Right. And so tell us about that.
It's kind of a surprise to me too. I only heard this news at the same time that anybody who watched Ryan Taylor's presentation at the North American Bitcoin Conference last month heard it as well. Most of us had been expecting the Evolution Alpha at the end of this year at the earliest, and Ryan said right up on stage that it's been bumped to rather the middle of this year. Now, granted, my presentation today will be inclusive of a whole suite of features that Evolution will come to offer over the course of time. When Alpha launches, are we going to have interest-bearing accounts plus subscription-based payments through the merchant app store, et cetera, et cetera? I don't think so.
Right, and I should make that clear. It's just the first stage of the process, right. But it's still encouraging how quickly it's happening.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's one thing about Dash developers that I've noticed. They do things slowly and incrementally so as not to break things, and so as to ensure that each additional layer that's added to our product offering, to ensure that it is fully compatible with everything else that's below it, with everything else that's already been built. And so Dash has never been a flashy coin. It's never been a, you know, we say we're going to change the world tomorrow, you better buy today kind of coin. It's never been anything like that. It's if you're in it for the long haul, for the future of money, that's what it is.
Absolutely. And not to single out this other crypto, but it is a recent historical example that has bearing on what you just said. With Ethereum and the DAO and that exploit that happened that then led to the hard fork, that was, in essence, the result, I think a lot of people would agree who have analyzed the situation, of a lack of due diligence and of haste in trying to get something out there before it was ready. And that's how the exploit was sort of figured out, is because they, they had missed it because they were too quick to get it out, I think. And so that is, and again, not to say, I mean, I think Ethereum is a good, has potential, it's a good project, but that is an illustration of the risks you run when you try to get something out to market too fast without really deliberate consideration and development in the works like Dash is doing. So I think that's real kudos to them for taking their time. So
I say kudos to them too. I am really just the messenger, and I get the privilege of just basking in these Slack chats with these guys who I think Evan Duffield is a genius. And man, is it just a privilege to, like I said, for the show each week, sometimes I need comments from various developers to clarify this or to give a statement on that. And so I'm able to reach out to them to seek those comments. And I'll just sit there behind my computer screen sometimes, just getting a little bit of the chills, just thinking about, dang, these are some smart guys in that they understand both supply and demand and computer science. And it's not a common person who's really good at both.
That is true, I think. I mean, I think there's a lot of brilliant developers who, great at what they do, can't see outside the box into some of the more economic or social aspects of what they're doing and how then to best adjust their projects towards that. But I think that the Dash team is so well-rounded, and that's evident in their governance structure. It's evident in the success of the governance structure, in having run so smooth, in having successfully funded and gotten projects out. I think it's no doubt. And that's why it would pay for people to, again, don't just take Amanda's word for it or even mine.
Please.
She's telling you the truth, but do your research too in Dash, and you'll realize exactly what we're talking about how promising it is, how successful it's been already. And again, not simply because it's market cap number 3, but because of the projects that are about to roll out, the projects that have already been rolled out, and the successful governance, the successfully executed time and time again governance structure. So.
Yeah, well, I like that what you just put in at the end there about doing one's own research, because I think that the more that one does one's own research, the more one can feel confident as a long-term holder. Whereas, if all you do is listen to babbling talking heads like me and you and Danny, then, you're probably going to feel less confident in your own decisions and be more at the whim of just buying and selling based on whatever headline you read today. Whereas with your own homework comfortably under your belt, you can weather these hype storms.
Exactly. And again, because it's like with anything else, and I've had that experience too, even if you rely on somebody whom you personally trust, whose competency in the field you trust even, you're still relying on somebody else's judgment over your own, and you really should use your own judgment. But like I said, I think when you apply your own research and judgment to it, it'll be pretty clear that Dash is something to get into, and that like she said, you'll be more confident getting into it and staying in it if you have your own peace of mind about your own knowledge about what's going on. So absolutely. Well, I don't want to keep you more, but it's 3:37. I guess some final thoughts, and remind people about Dash Detailed in the upcoming additional episode. And when that...
Sure, yeah. So it will be every Wednesday and every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time at youtube.com/org.
Excellent. And final thing, any cool little tidbit that we missed, any cool news or tidbit that we missed to throw out real quick?
Cool news
about
or
Dash?
tidbit that we missed. No.
I think we covered everything, right?
We did. And here's a tidbit. How about if you're a person who wants to and you haven't yet, I would invite you to join the Dash Nation Slack. You can find the link to join the Slack in the description section of any Dash Detailed video. And it's just a friendly place. And again, it's a friendly place because the moderators there are financially incentivized to keep it a friendly place. They have a treasury proposal called Dash Force. So they get paid if the Dash Slack, among other things, is a nice, wonderful, helpful place to be. So I'd encourage you to visit if you haven't.
That's pretty cool. And again, properly aligned incentives. We even talked about that very subject with some interviews over the past 2 days about other crypto and the concerns about properly aligned incentives elsewhere. But Dash really seems to have that, and that's again another really solid thing about it. So, and Amanda B. Johnson, Dash Detailed. Look for the upcoming second episode each week. Very exciting. We will be sure to watch more in our free time, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Danny.
And have fun with your talk. You're going to do great.
Go into it now.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, guys. We didn't keep you too long, actually. So 20. You got it. You got it.
Yeah.